Hello, hi, hey. I am Jakara N. Holman, and I am at the Twin Cities Film Festival with Derek Francis,
Hey.
a director. Do you do many other things?
Yeah, I work in education spaces. This is the first film, second film I've been able to be a part of as a producer and director. So I'm excited. And I work in education. So I work for Compass Brightworks, which is a collaborative of Minnesota Department of Education. So yeah, so I do.
Now it's making sense. The film is very educational, and you can still catch it. Well, we're not live any. 2 p.m. today, Friday the 18th. This film is showcasing here at Twin Cities Film Festival, and it is an educational, informational. Would you say like a documentary of a film?
Yeah, I'd say it's a huge piece of Minnesota history, learning about the integration story of schools in Minnesota. So that's really what I would capture the film as learning real history about our state and something that's relevant. We go to school now with people of different backgrounds, cultures, languages, races, but it wasn't always like that. So the film helps you understand what it looked like in our country to integrate schools and right here in Minnesota.
And see, the reason why I love this film is because we hear the historical moments, right, about the Ruby Bridges and the integration, but this films bring you into what was happening right here in the home state of Minnesota. And it also talks about the pillars like Kirk, who is mentioned in the film. And so tell me more about how you chose the individuals to recognize during your film.
Yeah, there's several. So we were intentional to have real voices, people who were a part of the integration story. So we have community members, we have former students, family members who were all part of integrating schools through the Hale Field pairing. And so we were intentional. We had some partnership with the Hennepin History Museum. They had done some projects earlier to commemorate the 50th anniversary. And so we asked some of the people who were a part of that programming that they did to help us in Minneapolis with the artwork that they had created to hold space for people throughout our community to learn about school integration. And so we captured it in a film. Since we had so many of these community events and we were getting so much rich history from students, so not a book on the shelf, from an actual person, their self telling you, this is what my experience was like going to field, going to Hale in 1971 where schools were integrating, and busing. That was the key piece that made this different, was having actual busing. So the two people you see on the bus, they were part of that first day of school integrating schools in Minneapolis. So yeah, that's why we chose them, to share their true authentic stories. So yeah.
So education is important, yes, but also access to get to that education is also important because we have our parents that have to drive to school. So it is very important to make sure that we have a way to transport these young scholars to and from school, because not having access to transportation is a barrier and an obstacle to education within itself, which is why the transportation system was very important in this story.
Oh my goodness, I would say it was paramount. So I think that's what makes integration of Hale Field, the pairing, really paramount, is that it really, one of the strategies to integrate schools that really kicked off in the early 70s was using busing. Oftentimes, busing would be students from the predominantly white school staying at their school, and students of color were being bused to the predominantly white schools. What's different in Minneapolis with the pairing, it was both ways. So students from the predominantly white school and students from the predominantly black school both paired. And so that wasn't something that was done around the country. That's unique to Minnesota. I bet you didn't learn that in your history books. So that's why it's so important to learn this kind of history, how unique it is here in Minnesota, the pairing of Hale and Field in Minneapolis.
Right, because I think one thing we take advantage today is, oh, today, my friends are of so many different backgrounds and diasporas, but with our young teenagers, like I have a 17-year-old sister, what she doesn't know is a time where having friends of different nationalities and backgrounds was almost like inevitable, like it wasn't possible, and so integration in the school system was important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's huge because it wasn't always where people from different backgrounds went to school together, or even restaurants, or even swimming pools. My daughter loves to swim. And so imagine before integration, going to the swimming pool, seeing kids at the pool with my daughter. She's like, Daddy, let's go swimming. And be like, actually, we can't swim there because of the color of our skin. That's what our times were like, and there's people who are alive who had those real lived experiences. So that's why we wanted to have those voices and share this true history of our city, but we do it in a way to teach, to not shame or make anyone feel bad or embarrassed, but for us to really heal our community. This is a time to really promote integrating, get to know people from different backgrounds.
Derek Francis, the director and educator. We have to wrap this up, but my last question to you is, what do you want our scholars, our educators, and our audience alike to take from your film?
Yeah, I think one key thing for them to take away would be really seeing the importance of getting to know people from different backgrounds, people from different races who speak different languages, different cultures, because there's there's times where there's divide, where people see a difference and they think like, oh, we might not have something that we have in common. I think it's so important to see the beauty and diversity and getting to know people who are different. So that'd be one thing, especially doing it in the schools. I think school space is a beautiful opportunity to really have that organic space to grow up with someone, play sports together, do a meal together. So that's what I'd like to encourage, and to have those intergenerational conversations. So not just so people who are older generation this might be uncomfortable, especially here in Minnesota. Minnesota Nice doesn't do this kind of conversation, but I really want to challenge us to do this across generations. So grandma and grandpa, get them in the conversation too. So that's what I'd like to have people carry from this.
Thank you so much. You have just heard from Derek Francis, director, educator, filmmaker. I am Jakara N. Holman, and we're at Twin Cities Film Festival. Come on down.